Welcome to another Explainer. Today, we're heading to literally one of the most mysterious places on Earth. Tucked away in a corner of the Pacific Ocean, just east of the Philippines, lies a place you definitely know by name, but maybe not by its true nature. I'm talking about the Mariana Trench. For decades, we've kind of just viewed this abyss purely as a natural wonder, an alien world completely isolated from human affairs. But looking at recent data, that narrative is being completely rewritten. This lightless, crushing environment is rapidly transforming from just a scientific curiosity into a massive, high-stakes geopolitical frontier. Okay, let's dive into this. To really understand what's happening, we have to look at this incredible contrast. On one hand, you have a pitch-black, bottomless void where survival just seems impossible. But on the other, our sources are detailing the highly secretive ambitions of global powers quietly competing for supremacy right where no one can see them. So what exactly is hiding down there at 11,000 meters that has nations risking everything to explore and conquer it? Part 1, the edge of darkness. To truly grasp the gravity of this situation, we first have to understand the battlefield. Imagine dropping below the sparkling, sunlit surface of the ocean. The familiar world vanishes almost immediately. By the time you hit just 200 meters, the sunlight is rapidly fading and you've entered the twilight zone. Drop down to 1,000 meters and boom, the sun is gone completely. Pitch black. This is where bizarre predators hunt, actually illuminating the dark with their own bioluminescent bodies. Continue plummeting down to 4,000 meters and you hit the abyss. And spoiler alert, it's not exactly a beach vacation. This is a desolate, desert-like seafloor covered entirely in silt, hiding millions of years of Earth's history. And at the very bottom, roughly 11,000 meters down, lies the Challenger Deep. The conditions here are so extreme, the single-celled organisms and ghostly white shrimp-like creatures that survive here seem, well, entirely alien. Right around that 4,000-meter mark in the abyss, the environment is just hauntingly sparse. Because there's absolutely no sunlight, there are obviously no plants, so the sparse life that actually manages to survive here does so entirely off of something called marine snow. It's basically a continuous, slow-motion shower of dead plankton, biological debris, and dust just drifting down from the upper ocean. Over millions of years, this carbon-rich debris has accumulated, blanketing the seafloor and creating this massive hidden reservoir of resources. In this barren wasteland, survival is literally a game of patience, interrupted by these super rare, massive bursts of energy. One of the most fascinating phenomena our sources highlight is the whale fall. When a massive whale dies and its carcass sinks to the ocean floor, it acts almost like an oasis in a desert. An entirely new, completely isolated ecosystem spontaneously forms around the whale's remains, sustaining bizarre communities of deep-sea life for years, and sometimes even decades. Part 2, Journey to the Abyss. Now, let's push past the 6,000-meter mark, where the environment goes from just inhospitable to actively deadly. This number right here perfectly encapsulates the sheer terror of the trench. Down in the deepest pockets of the Mariana Trench, the atmospheric pressure is 600 times greater than at the surface. To put that into perspective, it would feel as though invisible, unyielding hands were pressing in on every single square inch of your body, actively trying to crush you. It's an environment that violently rejects intrusion. Part 3, the human invasion. Despite these deadly conditions, we're seeing a really dramatic pivot toward human exploration. For decades, touching the bottom of the world was an incredibly rare feat. Back in 1960, Jacques Purcard and Don Walsh became the first to make the manned descent. Then, over 50 years later, in 2012, filmmaker James Cameron made a famous solo dive. Now, there were a few other explorers, but these descents required massive, incredibly expensive Western submarines. But looking at our source timeline, there's a very distinct shift. In 2020, China sent their Fenduzi submarine down with 3 people aboard, and they didn't stop there. By 2024, they successfully deployed an autonomous robot, roughly the size of a shoebox if you can believe it, to scan the seafloor and return safely. And then, by 2025, they demonstrated a specialized deep-sea cable repair robot. So we've gone from rare, massive, expensive Western dives to China efficiently deploying tiny, highly capable robot swarms. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the source data reveals 2 entirely different trajectories. On one hand, many Western nations, including the United States, are facing decreasing budgets and a waning interest in deep-sea exploration. On the other side of things, reports indicate China is operating at a really rapid pace, They aren't just exploring, they're deploying swarms of autonomous robots designed to map and monitor the ocean floor cheaply and silently. More astonishingly, they're planning permanent underwater bases. The report suggests China is quietly establishing a physical presence in an area that others are basically retreating from. Part 4, Treasures of the Trench. This brings us to the ultimate question: why? Why try to conquer this terrifying environment? Well, the first major prize is something called methane hydrates, often referred to as fire ice. And it looks exactly like frozen water, but if you hold a match to it, it literally catches fire. Scientists view fire ice as a massive, world-altering future fuel source, kind of like the alternative to tomorrow's petrol and oil. But that allure comes with a catastrophic risk. Extracting it requires disturbing the deep sea floor. A single mistake, just a slight over-agitation of those frozen layers, could cause the seafloor to collapse, suddenly releasing massive amounts of methane gas. This wouldn't just poison the ocean, it could absolutely devastate the Earth's atmosphere. But, energy isn't the only treasure down there. Scattered across the abyssal plains are polymetallic nodules. These look like unassuming dark rocks, but inside they are packed with high-value, rare metals. These metals are the absolute, literal building blocks of our future. They're essential for manufacturing next-generation batteries and are crucial for the global transition to electric vehicles. As the demand for these metals skyrockets in the next century, the nations that control these deep-sea fields won't just be wealthy, they'll dictate the global technology hierarchy. Basically, whoever holds the resources of the deep controls the future of tech. Part 5, the submarine cable threat. It's easy to think of the Mariana Trench as this distant, alien world. But this tension actually connects directly to your living room. Crisscrossing the dark ocean floor are millions of kilometers of incredibly fragile submarine cables. Our entire modern civilization, the global internet, international banking transactions, and highly classified military communications relies entirely on these physical wires. They might look robust, but they're incredibly vulnerable. They're capable of being severed by something as simple as a rogue fishing trawler's anchor, and they sit almost entirely unprotected in the pitch black of the deep ocean. So the crucial point is how this vulnerability overlaps with new technology. Let's look back at China's 2025 cable repair robot. Step 1, it has the advanced tech to locate these tiny cables thousands of meters deep in total darkness. Step 2, it has the physical tools to access and actually repair these wires. But Step 3 is what analysts and our sources highlight as a massive global concern. A machine that can repair a cable possesses the exact same capability to silently sever it. Now, while there's no evidence this technology has been used maliciously, just the mere existence of this dual-use capability is fundamentally changing how nations view the security of the deep sea. Part 6, Battle for the Deep. What we are witnessing across these sources is a profound global shift. And this brings us to a final thought-provoking question directly from our source analysis. The deep sea is no longer just a void. It's literally a key element of the future. But if absolute power over this hidden world, its data cables, its invaluable resources, its strategic depths, falls into the hands of a single nation, what is the price human civilization will pay? You, me, and everyone on this planet will be affected by the outcome of this invisible war. It's a really fragile future resting thousands of meters below the surface. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep wondering, and I'll see you on the next one.